All right, today we have with us Dexter Berner. He's one of our main sales guys. He's been with Keystone 4 years now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we're just going to talk barndominiums, a little bit about Dexter, who he is, his background, and so let's just jump right into it. So what's your background from, let's say, your working career forward? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Working career background. So I started working when I was roughly 13 with my grandpa and uncles installing equipment in commercial chicken houses, and did that for until I was probably 16. I did that year round, and then 16 we got into the lawn service business, and I would work lawn service in the summers and then go back to the chicken barns in the winters. We did that for 6 years. Towards the end, me and my brother took over and ran that ourselves for the last 2 years, which is probably why it went out of business. And then we me and my little brother, we bought a fencing business from my grandpa and started doing that. It went really well for the first 6-8 months. Got some traction, got a little big for our britches, and we were at a job in Paris, Tennessee, sitting in the truck trying to figure out what in the world we're going to do, because we couldn't we were just going backwards. We bought too much equipment, bought a new skid loader, truck, trailer, weren't making enough money, couldn't make the payments, and Jim shot me a Snapchat actually and said, "Hey, we're looking to hire another salesman." And I looked at Craig and I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to stop in on the way home and interview. And that was history.
So from 14 to
20, I started here when I was 23.
23. So from 14 to 23, it was primarily mowing and commercial chicken house equipment, and then you got into the fencing for a year or two.
I did do like a 4-month construction business with a cousin that didn't go well as well.
So you just tried a lot of things,
Yep.
got some experience. Awesome. All right, so you 6-7 years doing different things, all kind of around the construction industry. Yep. And then you started here in 2020.
2020, I think. Yeah.
So what have you seen in the 4 years you've been selling, like as the industry evolved, if you will? Like what is the biggest changes you've seen in the 4 years?
But as far as the difference, for what I see, when at the peak of COVID, when everyone was buying buildings, it's like, what was our big year or the good year? I don't know if you want to say that on a podcast. But anyways, what I remember when things were going well for me, when they first started kicking off, was I think in year 2022. And that was right in the peak of COVID. Everyone was spending money, and you didn't even have to work. Like, all you had to do was just be not terrible at your job. People would call in, you'd get them a quote, and you'd kind of throw some quotes out there, and you'd get 3 or 4 of them. It was just constantly. Didn't have to do much like haggling on price. Everyone just expected high numbers. It was no big deal. 2023 was a little different. I didn't sell as much that year. I kind of switched positions for a little while. But I could tell it got a little bit tougher to you couldn't just throw things out and then get sales anymore. You had to do a little more research. You had to be a little better at your craft. And then this year, 2024, has been, it's completely different from when I started to now. How in depth you have to get on your sales, like the research you have to do. You have to call codes departments. They centralize all the septic stuff to TDEC. That throws a hitch into everything. I've been on the phone with more codes offices and inspectors and all these people that this year, probably in the 4 months that I was in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
And same with customers. They're much more money conscious, and also they seem like they're more educated in the post-frame world, in my opinion.
Barndominiums are becoming well known enough that the customers know a lot more. There's more resources out there. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, too, part of it, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, but Tennessee specifically has gotten a little more strict on what they expect from building, like from a building codes perspective, and like you mentioned, like septic, T-deck, all that. And so it's a little more of a process. And then also banks seem to have tightened up on what they want to see from the builder and the customer before they'll approve anything. So what's your thoughts on that? What have you seen there?
Yeah, I mean, going back to, like I said, I think my first 2 years here, I don't know if I ever called a codes department for anything. You just sold the building, and the permit was fairly easy to get. Now, in certain counties, you need surveys before you can even get a building permit. You got to do a lot of due diligence out ahead of the actual building. What was the other question? What was the other part of it?
Well, kind of this leads into it. I don't remember what the question was, but what are the kind of the key features and benefits of our product, and what are some common misconceptions that people have around barndominiums?
Key features of our product. I would say the key features would be, right at the top of my head, would be cost is less.
For a barndominium.
For a barndominium. And if you do that the way we prefer to build them, you have less footing cost, you don't have OSB cost, and if you keep it at a fairly conservative roof line, not crazy pitches and stuff, it is cheaper. But I would also say the common misconception for people is that it is cheaper, if that makes sense. People expect to come in and build a barndominium for like a half of what a regular house costs.
So you're saying it's cheaper, but the misconception is that it's so much cheaper that they can build a 2,000 square foot house with a $150,000 budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens a lot. I'm sure you've seen it. I mean, they call in our budget is $180,000 total, and they want 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
So that cost being the biggest thing you see that's misconception people have.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about like time frame of building, like the benefits of building barndominium and time frame.
So, I mean, there's people that can probably speak to this better than me. I've never been a part of taking it from conception all the way to moving in. I've been like the consultant through that. But from what I see is the reason I think the way we build barndominiums and barndominiums in general are the way to go is they're perfect for, especially in today's market, prices are high. If you go with a GC, you're going to be paying 15 to 20% markup on everything. So self-GC is the way to go. You're going to spend a little more time, but you're going to save a lot of money in that process. But barndominiums are easier, in my opinion, to self-GC than a standard home, because you hire someone like Keystone to come out, and you pay them one time, and they get the majority of your work done. All the stuff that you need, equipment and crazy stuff, architectural drawings, all that. We can take care of all that. And then once the shell of the concrete is done, I just visited a site last week that I sold back in 21, and they're still working on finishing it out, but they're not in a hurry. They're taking their time. They're doing it as they can. So I think there's no like, I'm not sure how to say it. You don't have to get it done in a year. You can wait 10 years if you want to.
Yeah, because once the shell's up, everything's protected. That's what you're saying, right?
Yep.
And you can finish it out as quickly or as slowly as you would like.
Which I guess you can do that on a conventional build as well, but the beauty of a barndominium is you can use it as you're finishing out. A conventional home, most times it's just a house.
Yeah.
So you can use it as garage space as you build out the rest of it.
Like, so you work with, what, realistically 20 people a week you at least talk to, maybe not face-to-face, but you talk to a lot of people every week, so we're talking 400 or 500 people through a year. Mm-hmm. Tell me about a really cannot talk memorable experience that you had to go above and beyond for a client, and just kind of talk about some of your favorite customers and kind of how all that played out. You can take a moment and think about it if you need to.
Let's see. Some of my favorite customers, I've got a bunch of people that I really enjoyed working with. Above and beyond. So last Saturday, I had a morning meeting, but this guy called me on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and he said, "Hey, I found this property in Indian Mountain, Tennessee. I really want it. I'm in Vegas right now. I'm catching the red eye. I'll be there Saturday morning. Can you meet me?" I'd never talked to him before. Really didn't have much. I didn't know if it was even going to be worth my time, but I said, you know what? He seems like he's sincere, so I met him out there, and we spent an hour and a half or so driving around looking at properties. It ended up, the property he wanted was in a bad spot. It was in a hill, and he had to backpedal and kind of shoot from the hip, and I happened to know an individual in the area that owned some acreage there. So we called him, said, "Hey, would you be interested in selling some lots?" And he told us what he would have, so we went and walked around there. Gave him some numbers to some realtors in the area that I know have lots for sale there. I would say that's the most recent I could think of going above and beyond. I don't know if that would be a favorite customer story, but
We'll see, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
It was a good experience. Great to meet them. They're great people. Favorite customers would be there's an older couple out in White House, Tennessee, several years ago. I was pretty green and didn't really do probably wasn't the best put together project, but during the process somehow we just became friends, and like we've invited them to every Keystone like event we have, even though we don't really generally invite the public to that. And they still comment on Facebook. We still message back and forth.
Made lifelong friends.
Yep.
Yeah. That's that. And in sales, like I've done quite a bit of sales myself, and that I don't want to speak for you, but the relationships you build that actually last and you become friends is pretty awesome.
It is.
What do you enjoy most about your job selling barndominiums and garages?
Well, I can tell you I do not like quoting stuff. I don't like the nitty-gritty details. What I enjoy the most is the people.
Yeah.
I love when they bring in, I just realized this the last few months actually, like when they bring in a plan or some pictures from online and they present them to me, and then we talk about it, and all of a sudden it clicks and we have a design, like they light up and they're like, man, this is possible. I think that's my favorite part of the process.
Taking their loosely held dream, vision, whatever you want to call it, to, hey, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like they can act like, oh, this is exactly what it would look like, and this is doable.
And then also a lot of people come in, so they know they're going to do a self-GC project, so they're very intimidated and very unsure. And then to be able to ease those fears and to have them feel comfortable, like, okay, we can do this. It's very fulfilling for me.
Yeah. Talk about that too a little bit. That brought up something, because I just had a meeting before this, and the customer seemed fairly nervous, and I forget because I do it every day, so it's nothing to be nervous about, right? So can you want to speak to that, like to the customer, on what to expect, and the fact that we are here to help you. Like that is what we specialize in, right?
Yeah, for sure. So what do you want me to speak to?
Or just kind of have a conversation about that, like. They're coming in, they're super nervous. Like, you're not going to ask us a dumb question. Like, There's nothing you can ask us that we haven't heard before, generally speaking. And that's what we're here for. Like, don't leave wondering about whatever it is. Just ask us. If we don't know, we'll find out. That's what we do, right? Has that not been your experiences? You get customers who are hesitant, and they're apologetic. They're like, oh, we don't really know. It's like, everyone we talk to is in the same boat you're in.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think we call the sales team a sales team, but we do out and sell a product. How I view it more like we're consultants.
Yeah.
'Cause even after, I always tell people this, like I'm not gonna come out and physically do the work for you, but I'll put the project together, and anything through the interior portion, finish out, call me. I'll be a consultant through it.
Yeah.
I agree. There's no dumb questions. I would say the best customers we have and the most happy customers we have are the ones that don't have that fear of asking a dumb question.
Yeah.
They just lay it all on the table, and
if it's on their mind, they're asking, they're talking about it, and it's understandable, because if you're building your first house, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going into it, and it's going to be a learning experience, and you're not a general contractor. You don't do this every day, so there's going to be a lot of questions you have.
Yep.
And it's totally fine. I mean, let's talk about it. How can we help you? And like I said, sometimes we don't even know, but we can help you get the answer you need.
One thing I think is super important for people in our industry is to not view the customer as a dollar sign. You almost have to step back and be like, okay, if this was me, this is a big decision. This could shape out the next 5 years, 10 years of these people's lives. 20 years, yeah. If there's a bad experience, you screw something up, they're going to remember it and feel it for a long time. So if this was me, how would I want someone else to treat me in this instance? I'm not just a dollar sign.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, a lot of the people we work for talk about the fact that this is our forever home.
Yep.
They finally bought the 10, 20 acres they've wanted, and they're building a home. They have no plans on selling. They hope to die there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's a big decision for them, and they're taking out 20, 30-year mortgages.
It's a big responsibility on us.
Yeah.
That's their forever home.
It's good for us to stop and even think about that. Like, if you were doing a project like that, you would want to pick somebody that you thought could best serve you and help you, but also cared, like genuinely cared about this turning out well and you getting what you want. Within reason, obviously, budget limitations can really hamper that sometimes, like we talked about earlier on in the podcast. But if they're reasonable with their budget, it's really on us to do everything we can to make it the best experience and get them the best end results possible.
Yeah, I agree. As far as budget, kind of talking about budget a little bit, what I think we can tend to do is when someone calls in and they say, hey, I've got this budget, I want this building, we just say, no, we can't do it. I think it's very valuable and important that we say, well, we can't do that for this, but how do you feel about this? Like, give them options, because a lot of times people aren't married to that particular design or plan.
They need guidance. Yeah, you need to guide them, like, okay, you have this budget, what's key to you? What's the main thing you want to achieve? And then, like you said, they don't know how to get there, and so you kind of have to walk them through a couple different options. And like I did that this morning in my meeting. Like we want this size house approximately. We want to park 3 cars and have a gym and storage, but they had no clue what size that should be. And we started with kind of ideal, and then we just started taking stuff off and backing it down to where they're like, okay, we're comfortable with that, and then proceed forward with that and get drawing started. And
yeah, it really takes a lot of a different mind for us to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, you have to, I'm not that smart, so I have to rely on like emotion and like
intuition
and connection with people.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it is, though. It's not necessarily about being smart or not. Like, you are building someone's home, and even in shops, like if you've lived in a house for 10 years and for 10 years you stood in your backyard and looked at it and been like, someday I'm going to build a garage. That's a big deal. That's a huge life step for them. And they've dreamed about it and thought about it, and helping them achieve that and guiding them through that process is so important, because they don't do it every day. We do. And so, yeah, it's inspiring to me to think about that, because from our perspective, it's just another garage. It's just another house if we're not careful. We did 100 this year already, so this is 101. to them, that is their one
Yeah.
and only project, and they may have spent the last 10 to 20 years dreaming and saving for that project, helping them, guiding them through that process, and getting them the best end results. And we do that at Keystone for the most part. Obviously, we lose focus, and we're human, and we have down days, but I think that is what makes us unique is we really do care, and we love to see our customer get what they want and to be happy with it. Like, it really, we don't have 100% satisfaction rate because we live in an imperfect world, but that 3 to 5% that is unhappy, like, that's very unsettling for me. Like, what did we do wrong? Like, this it hurts your feelings, like that they're not happy in the end.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking of as you were talking about that is, you know, a lot we are on the higher end of pole barn sales in the area. Like, our prices tend to be roughly 5 to 10% higher, especially on garages. And thinking about, like, what you were saying about how we need to view people and how we need to be able to, realize this is special to them, each individual project. Well, the reason that we're higher is not simply because we're not trying to make more money. We have to meet our certain metrics. We have a 5-year warranty, but also if we don't cut our profit margins just to bare minimum, then it gives us the opportunity to go above and beyond. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not saying we're gouging anybody, but we price things a certain way for a reason. That way, if we mess up, or if you need something, we can help you out without charging you more. We can afford to go above and beyond.
Right.
I don't know if you can.
And we try really hard to use premium products, and that's a factor too. But yeah, like, the management team we have here in place to try to prevent as much as we can, and not just drop the packages. The crew foreman is your point of contact, and if you have problems, if it's not in the contract, good luck.
Yeah.
It's not our problem. We try to take on a little more responsibility and walk with them through that process, and it is a service we have to charge for, because we do have to feed our families and keep the lights on.
Well, it makes me think of all the people in the past that, sometimes we work with people and we can't meet up on price, so they end up going a cheaper route. And there's people that have called me back, or I've ran into them later on. They're like, I should have went with you guys.
Yeah.
My building's still not built.
Yeah. And we're not for everyone too. That's something else in sales you have to make peace with, is you're not going to sell everybody you talk to, and that don't even mean they made the wrong choice. Like, what is their specific need, and then maybe we don't meet that need, and there's someone else that better serves that need. And so, but the people we do sell and the people we want them to be happy and be lifelong customers. That is our goal, that when you're done with Keystone, and that makes me think another thing. So from talking to the customer, it is construction. It's messy. You got weather. You got on a barndominium. You've got hundreds of components that go into this building. We might misorder trim, screws, post, whatever, and it delays and it creates little hiccups here and there. But so it's not a matter of if it's going to go wrong, it's just when. Like, something's going to create a hiccup, and what you need to understand about Keystone is we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
We're there to fix it. We're going to stick with you to the end within reason. Like, if you're being completely unreasonable and asking us to do things completely outside of our scope of our contract, obviously not, but within reason, we're there till it's done. So when it goes wrong, there's no need to fret or panic. We're going to come back. We're going to fix it. It may delay the project, but that is construction.
Yeah, I think my line pretty much at the end of every sale is, or even at the end of every meeting, I always say I can make 2 promises to you. 1, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be mess ups and mistakes. And 2, we're going to fix them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anything else? We're going to wrap it up. Anything else around, like, the customer experience, Keystone, what we're about? Anything you want to say before we wrap it up? Any words of wisdom?
I mean, we kind of touched on a lot of it. Like thinking of the people over the product. I was just thinking about the people that call in. You were saying how some people don't go with us and they haven't made the wrong decision, and that's very true. I've been trying to think of it a little differently lately. So, our purpose or our mission here is to impact lives positively, ultimately bring glory to God. So even when, you get a phone call and you can tell immediately they're not going to go with Keystone, they're probably going to waste your time. Like, I've been trying to be like, okay, how can I help them? Whether it's giving them a phone number, tell them to go buy a storage shed, a carport, whatever it is, try to impact them positively. So when they leave, even if they don't ever do business with us again, I've made a difference. Maybe,
Yeah. Try to always provide value to anybody you can and make an impact. Yeah, that's so true. And it's, as humans, we're all selfish, and it's easy to get busy and forget that. But in reality, we think of making an impact, I know for myself, is you think of it as one big thing you do, but it's really not. It's a lot of small actions throughout the day continuously, and it's a lifetime of doing that, and that's how you make an impact. Well, I think that's where we want to wrap it up. So we'll leave y'all with that. Appreciate your time, and
Yes,
everybody have a great day.
Thanks for having me.